All right. Welcome in, everyone. I know you all are tuning in after watching the end of that Maryland Penn State game because this is the Big Ten
Oh,
Conference
yeah.
Preview Tournament. We got Rutgers big fan Goose here on College Gamebreakers, brought to you by thebreakdownsports.com. You shouldn't be watching the NBA All-Star Game. The way you want to
No.
spend your Sunday night is with Goose and Rex. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Last time we had Goose here with the Southern, as he put it so perfectly, gave out some gems there, hoping to get some good gems. And last time we had a listener comment talk about VMI up, and they ended up being a nice underdog in that first round. So if any of you listeners want to chat in, let's do it. But it's the Big Ten. Goose from Qualls Corner is here with me once again. How you doing on this late Sunday night?
I am fantastic. Yeah, it was a pleasure joining you on, I believe it was Friday night. We talked Southern Conference. I was a big Mercer guy, Mercer the 7 seed, and it looks like they are in the finals. They're going to play UNC Greensboro in the finals. So we're riding Mercer one more game. That's a topic for another day, and I'm thrilled to talk Big Ten basketball.
Yeah, you do with that nice Knights jersey and that cool script retro one. It's nice. They brought it back this year. I saw it a few games.
Yeah.
And you tweeted out that Mercer pre-odds, so we'll have to check you out on Twitter to see how you're going to be hedging that. But
yeah,
the regulars,
love if you guys want to follow me. I got my name right here, Cole's Corner, KOWALS KORNER, and yeah, hit me with a follow. We'll chat some college hoops. But I'm thrilled to be here tonight.
Yes, sir. So for the Big Ten, regular season winner is Michigan. And Goose, I don't know if you can explain this to me because they went 14-3. Illinois went 16-4, and somehow Michigan ended up getting it. I know it's by win percentage. It's technically better, but 2 wins and 1 more loss, I don't know. That's a tough one. We've seen them give out the split co-champs. I'd rather have seen that, but Michigan would be your 1 seed regardless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Michigan had that COVID pause. I believe the whole state or the whole university went on a shutdown or something. So they have less games played. But all throughout, I think they have a great resume. I believe they lost to Illinois, so they lost the head-to-head, but I still feel like they're deserving of a 1 seed. It's just a weird year in general. We're gonna have a weird tournament. We're gonna have a weird Big Ten tournament. We're gonna have a weird March Madness, but we have it at least. We missed it so much last year, so at least we have it, and we can. It's great to argue about this 1 seed versus 2 seed stuff because at least we can argue about basketball being around this time.
And it seems like both of those, Michigan and Illinois, are locked into a 1 seed in the Big Ten. So it's funny you get the 2 seed in your conference tournament, but you'll be a number 1 overall, bearing maybe an upset that Goose would love to see. It's in MSG. Yeah. It's right up by us. It's just a train ride away. What would get you to make that ride up there? Or are you just taking it all from your couch or from the local bar?
For the Big Ten tournament, I was trying to tweet something to try to get a little exposure. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Just a nice little train ride up from us in NJ Transit to get to MSG there. Will you be attending any games in person, or are you going to be taking it all at the bar or at your place?
The Big Ten tournament, that's at
that's in Indy.
That's at I think the Colt Stadium, right?
Yeah, I was confusing that with the Big East, so no train ride for you, Goose.
Well, I might try to get to the Big East tournament, though, whole separate thing. But, yeah, I love that it's at MSG, and they should bring the Big Ten back to MSG, get a little East Coast exposure. But, no, I mean, since you touched upon it, it's at the Colt Stadium. That's going to be a big advantage for the Big Ten, I believe. I don't have the statistics, but historically, being in a stadium like an arena like that, you always hear the players talk bad about depth perception. This is a huge stadium they're going to be playing at. What is it, like a 70,000 person? It's only going to be 8,000 fans, but just the depth perception is different when you play in these football stadiums. So I think it's a big advantage that the Big Ten is going to warm up there and look for like the final four teams of the Big Ten to really have an advantage on the other teams as they get this practice in a football arena, playing some games. It's gonna be some ugly games.
So does that mean we like unders going into this conference tournament? First teams in there, first game in there with that depth perception. Do we like the unders, or do we know Vegas is smart enough and they're knocking like a basket off the total?
So that is hard. Excuse me. I was looking today at the conference over-unders in general, and the Big Ten does have a lot of teams that fall into the under category. Actually, the most under teams are Michigan versus Michigan State. They played today. They're both around 40% more or 60% under, only 40% over. So I played the under in that Michigan State game, which thankfully hit. But yeah, I mean, if the totals are in the 140s, I'm going to look to back some unders in this Big Ten tournament, especially that all the games, from my understanding, are only in the Colts Stadium.
Lucas Oil.
Yeah, Lucas Oil. There we go. It's only the one stadium, and I think it's a great place to play unders, especially if they're in the 140s. Got to look for the number. You don't want it to creep in the low 130s.
Nope.
But
yeah, especially when some of these teams get hot and they love to go on some long 3-point spurts.
Yes.
Which is definitely terrible for your unders. But as of right now, if the tourney started today and there wasn't the Big Ten, there'd probably be 9 teams that would make it.
Mm-hmm,
I would say one is now in the bubble after the loss to Penn State tonight. Sorry, Terps. Your selection Sunday is going to get a lot sweatier.
Yeah.
But you have a nice first round matchup against Michigan State that could potentially solidify it. Mm-hmm. And Goose, you and I were talking about this. Is Rutgers any bit on the bubble? I still think they're safe at this point. A loss to IU could do them a little dirty in the same way that it could help Maryland out. But as of right now, I think Maryland would be the team that gets bumped out and Rutgers would be safe, especially with that loss. So I think it's good for you seeding-wise and for bubble and for March-wise that Maryland did end up blowing that game late tonight.
Yeah, it's great. That bumps Maryland more down, makes Rutgers feel more safe, I guess you could say. And Rutgers gets to play Indiana instead of Michigan State. But life as a Rutgers basketball fan is a little weird. Like I don't know what it's like for like good things to happen. So I ultimately think, I mean, if they lose to Indiana, they'll probably still be in. But now you're looking at like just getting into the tournament and getting bounced right away. So that Indiana game is super important because it's a confidence builder. You don't want them to, I guess, sneak into the tournament. Mm-hmm. You want them to go into the tournament with some mojo, with some momentum. So I guess you could say they're like safe, but then again, losing to Indiana really kills all hope of advancing through the weekend.
Yeah, first, I know, Goose, in your lifetime, you've never heard that name called on Selection Sundays. No, I cannot wait. I need the electric chair on you. Even if they're the lock, you're still going to go nuts as if they were solely on the bubble. So I'll be living vicariously through you there. And then we've touched on unders overall as a whole here. Ken Palm, he has games that I consider as close games, which is less than 4 points or less. They had the least. They only had 22 games and less than 4 points. So maybe it is the fouling, but there are 27 of the 31 conferences that played that season. So always taking the points didn't seem to always work out in the Big Ten this season, where home court advantage did have pretty solid effect. We definitely saw that with Minnesota. But now with the neutral site, let's just get into it. Since we are the first ones breaking down the Big Ten, beating everyone else to market because the game legitimately ended 15 minutes ago, there is no conference odds out yet. But you can probably use your head. You can use a little bit of math right here because me and Goose, big math guys, where you could kind of project to where you could think the odds are, or any team right now. Outright odds would be, do you think anyone's going to be hanging a high number that you're not expecting, a low number you're not expecting, or do you just want to get into who are you crossing off and who do you not want to touch if you had to back someone outright?
So there does feel like a Big Ten is broken up into tiers. I do feel like there is a top 3. Illinois, Iowa, and Michigan. There's 2 teams I would like to cross off. I am not a believer in Ohio State. They were as high as, I believe, fourth in the nation
Hmm.
recently, and I believe they lost 6 in a row, or four in a row. Believe they are stumbling right now. They're coached phenomenally. Great coach Holtman, great coach, but I don't see their talent being there as an elite team. I see them as a very good team. Give them a 3 or 4 seed. I don't see them as a 1 or a 2 seed in March Madness. So I want to cross off Ohio State because I don't like how they're playing lately. I don't like their tempo. EJ Liddell is a great player, but this is the conference of the big man. He is more of a power forward. And when you're in the conference of the big man and you're a power forward, it just it hurts that he doesn't have those extra inches like Kofi Coburn, like Luka Garza. So
Hmm.
I am not a fan of Ohio State's talent on the elite level. I still think they're a very good team, but I don't want to back them for a tournament-long stretch. There was a team that lost today, Wisconsin, who is to me very similar to Ohio State. Senior-driven, great coaching, but they just I don't see it with the talent. They're 0-8 this season against ranked, or sorry, 0-8 in 2021 against ranked opponents.
Hmm.
Early in the season, they had like a ranked winner too, but in 2021, they're 0-8 against ranked opponents. I don't see a closer, especially with Demetrius Trice. I think that's his first name. With Trice, he's sliding lately. He doesn't have the assassin in him that he had earlier in maybe like last season. So I don't want to touch anything with Wisconsin or anything with Ohio State because I just think they're coming in on losing streaks. They're coming in sliding in a gauntlet of a conference where you have to have your A game every single night.
Yeah, Ohio State is definitely, you hit that one spot on because at the 5 seed, they're going to have to get Purdue and then they're going to have to get Michigan as well. So I think we are going to see a pretty decent number given out on Ohio State, and you're going to see a lot of people tweeting it and running to it where they're going to remember the Ohio State when they were sitting at 18-4,
Mm-hmm.
12-4 overall. It seems like with Ohio State, Steven says this a lot where they just, once they get into a Big Ten stretch, they just fumble. They never put the full season through, and their lack of height and the lack of a true center where Zed Key, they're going to be relying on a freshman who, I mean, he's been getting decent minutes, but you saw him get into foul trouble against the Illini on Saturday. So that's just kind of where the lack of the true center, especially when you have Dickinson, Kofi, and Garza. I mean, give me Big Maple and William and Trayvon Williams almost as well over any big man. Liddell, yes, he can score better than anyone else, but
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
he's something similar to where UMass just gets killed on the boards because Trey Mitchell doesn't like to bang on the inside. So
Mm-hmm.
EJ Liddell, better player than Trey Mitchell, but I see that pretty even there. And with Wisconsin, they still have that same gauntlet stretch because they have the extra game. Being the 5 and the 6 seed is almost like the worst possible spot you could be in this tournament because you catch the 4 or the 3, and Purdue and Iowa are both live 3 and 4 seeds. So
Yeah.
Whiskey, they do have that seniority, but I don't know what's just happened with that team. Maybe it is just the pure talent. They play that team ball, so they just go on 3 to 4 minute stretches each game, and it's every single game which kills them where they just don't score, and the other team goes on a 12-0 run, and they usually don't have a 12-0 run to combat with.
Yeah, you know what I also think is part of both teams are extremely efficient on offense, but looking at Ken Palm earlier, Ohio State is 255th in tempo, and Wisconsin is 325th in tempo, and it's just if a team goes on a 10-0 run, they don't have the urgency. That's a big thing. I feel like they don't have the urgency to get that 10-0 run because they're just so efficient. They pass the ball around, they work it around, but when they need the run, when they need to respond, I feel like they just don't have that extra gear. They don't have that fifth gear.
No, and I don't know like where it comes down to. Is it because Wisconsin doesn't get to the line well? I mean, that's the only thing on offense because Ohio State's a well-rounded offense. It's just that defense for them, I think, is more of their culprit, where Wisconsin's offense is their culprit. But playing that slow tempo definitely does not help. I mean, don't want to state the obvious, but we never see teams in opening weekend, so just cross them off. Play on money line if you like them there against the second round matchup. But I kind of want to cross off Iowa.
Yeah,
That would be the third team that I would potentially be looking to cross out, and that would be if Frederick he went down with another injury potentially, and if that one is long term and sustaining, they need that starting five to be there. They saw if Bohannon was out for a little bit, Wiesenkamp was out for a little bit. If any one of those four guys in their key starting five is out, it's just not the same juggernaut Iowa team is. Shout out to Luka Garza getting his number retired even before he's done playing college basketball. That's pretty awesome. But when you're the all-time leading scorer and you're going to be the back-to-back player of the year, makes a little bit sense there. So
yeah, it's very nice gesture. You would assume maybe in like 3 years, like he comes back, but he's a great player, which is why I didn't realize the injury, so I was a little curious why you're crossing off Iowa. I'm not looking exactly to back them, but if you need to be healthy in this run, it's going to be what 3 or 4 games. You got to win one a night, and so playing tournament ball, you need that bench, you need that health, and yeah, Frederick is hurt. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that would be a big one for them to go. But if he's fully healthy, I wouldn't cross them off as quickly because Luka Garza, he was getting on he was on the SVP pod, and he was talking about how the team has finally bought into playing defense, and that's where you saw this late run where they've rattled off 7 of their 8. So I don't know what the switch is or what clicks in your head for your team just to start playing defense. I mean, it just kind of seems
defense is all effort to me. So I mean, they just got to buy in. They need to play 40 minutes.
So I don't know what makes them buy in this late into the season or whatever. But hey, get hot late. Don't get hot early where it doesn't really matter. They're solidifying themselves for a nice spot. And then 2 quick teams just because I feel like we need to touch on them. But I want 0.0 business of backing them, and that's Indiana and Minnesota, basically because I think both of those coaching jobs are open this summer. So that's where I wouldn't want to touch either of them. And maybe, sure, they think if they can make a little run in here, it saves their coaching job. But I think both of those guys are basically already out the door. So I don't want to touch one where that could potentially be happening.
When we get to the long shots, I'd like to touch upon one of those teams you mentioned. I don't know if you want me to do that right now.
Now let's get into who we think we can win.
Yeah.
So
I'll save that for a couple minutes.
Yeah. Now it's time to gush over, I guess, Michigan and Illinois a little bit here. And I got to stick it first with who I think can win. And if I had to put out an outright future down, I mean, it has to be the Illini right now.
Yes.
They're the team that I'm the most confident in. Underwood's got the boys rolling, and we saw Io come back. Didn't make I don't want to say make an issue when he's probably the top player in the team, but they rattled 3 straight wins off since he did have that face injury. And he came back and was looking like Superman in that mask. He was talking about how he loved playing in it. I mean, Io and Kofi is the best 1-2 duo that you currently have in the Big Ten. And it's where Curbelo, Frazier, and Williams kind of when Io went out. I don't want to say it's a blessing in disguise, but it gave those guys confidence that if Io gets in foul trouble, or it gave them the confidence of that we're still a good team and we can put the chemistry together without them there. It gave them more touches with the ball in their hands, gave them more ability to score. So sure, him going out isn't probably the best for rhythm-wise, but it really gave them the time to step it up. And they are 8 guys deep, and I think they're one of the better deep teams in here. So if they have to make the run, and sorry, Goose, I kind of do like their path here, but that's where I do think the Illini would be my favorite team. If I had to pick one to back outright, it would be them.
And I would agree because the most important, not the best, but the most important this Big Ten run or in the whole tournament, I think, is Andre Curbelo. I think, with Io going out, the freshman, the point guard, he's going to allow Io to be an assassin because Io doesn't have to do everything. Curbelo can handle the rocks, set up the team, set up Io, and I think the most important player and the star of the tournament is going to be Curbelo. I see this Illinois team is loaded, and I completely agree. If I'm backing one team, I am going Illinois because with Io going out, the other team stepped up, and with Io coming back, they all were still stepping up, and he's integrated smoothly. This team, the sky is the limit now, and that injury was a blessing in disguise, I believe. So that's no slouch on Michigan. I mean, Michigan, they might as well have like the coach of the year. They're clicking everywhere. They were picked 7th, 8th, 9th in the Big Ten preseason, and they're the 1 seed right now. They have no bad losses, I believe, and they're money this season.
So before we hit on Michigan, why does Curbelo wear the headband upside down every single game with Nike?
Ron Harper does that on Rutgers. Little swagger right there. He wears the Adidas one upside down. Yeah, kind of mess with it. They're college kids just having a little fun with it right now. A little branding themselves a little because that sticks out. That's some little things that stick out. Now you make a little brand for yourself, a little name for yourself. And I love that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's where I was hoping since you have the ear on the Big Ten, and you knew Ron Harper's. So if it's just a pure swag, I'm all about it. Mm-hmm. For Michigan here, I really like their chances, and obviously it's the 1 seed. You gotta like their chances. But with Brooks going down today, I hope that's not a long-term injury with his ankle. Because if Brooks does miss some time, he's just a key piece in that roster. But you still have Livers, Wagner, Dickinson, Smith. I mean, you have enough guys to get there, but that's just one solid piece out of their depth and a starter as well. But Brooks, he brings a good versatility to this team. That's where I think they'll be fine because Mike Smith is, I wouldn't say just as good, but you saw him still get into the basket. He creates. Yeah. So that's where you just lose a little bit of a depth piece. So you lose a little bit if you do get into foul trouble. But once again, Michigan's path, I still like it. I don't think the Brooks injury really screws them long-term, but over-exceeding and everything, that was Michigan this year because not many people were higher than them. No. People were still saying Juwan Howard was a bad hire after last season where it's the first year with the team. You got to give them a little bit of credit, and now you saw them go on that 11-0 start, sitting at 18-1 at one point. I mean, they lost to Minnesota where they're a team that I just want to touch on when we get the long shots because I think that's your long shot that you're going to get onto. So I definitely want to talk there. Then you lose to Illinois and Michigan State. So 3 losses on the season. You can't count any of those as bad. All right, long shots. The best part to talk about because, Goose, you nailed it last time, and I was hoping you weren't going to say this team because I have zero faith in them. So tell me why you like them as your long shot.
So Minnesota, so I'm a Rutgers guy. Not many people might remember this reference, but the year the MSG held the Big Ten tournament, Corey Sanders from Rutgers went off. They won 2 games. I forgot who they beat first, and they beat Indiana, I think, first, and or that was the second game. But they won 2 games. They were the 14th seed and won 2 games because Corey Sanders went off in the Garden. He took the Garden by storm, and I see Marcus Carr as a player who can almost single-handedly win a game or 2. I like Minnesota as a long shot because their first game is going to be against Northwestern. Minnesota has lost a lot in a row. Young Patino's about to be canned. They're a mess, but they get Northwestern their first game. That's a game to get your swagger back. Marcus Carr, as I said, and they have a couple other pieces. They got Mashburn Jr. They got a couple shooters. They are the worst shooting team in the Big Ten. They're shooting 39.7%. So, I mean, it's kind of silly to say, but if they just get a couple more shots to fall, I know like they could have done that all season. But all it takes is a couple game run, and now you're on fire. So if Minnesota can win their first game, then I believe they get Ohio State their second game, who is the 5 seed. And I just mentioned I'm crossing off Ohio State because I don't see their dominance in the big man. I don't see their tempo being feared. I could see Marcus Carr single-handedly almost beating Ohio State. Now, a lot of things will have to happen. It's a long shot for a reason. They could easily lose their first game. but I think Minnesota can go on a 2-game run right there. Now you have a long shot. I have no clue what it'll be. Maybe like 1,800, and now you're chilling in the. Would that be the semis then? No. Then they would get Then they would get 4-seed Purdue. Purdue's another team that they're not extraordinary. They're a very sound team. They do have that like 7'3" guy. They got some veteran shooters, but it's tournament ball, and the best player on the court will be Marcus Carr. So I think they can more go on a 2-game run. I don't think they can win the whole tournament. They're a 12 seed for a reason. But I could see Minnesota I could see Carr having a Corey Sanders-esque moment and winning 2 games.
So Goose, I mean, Carr can knock the talent there. They didn't win a single game outside of the barn.
Yes.
They lost every away game. So maybe it's neutral. It'll be good for them.
Yeah,
They're
the Rutgers from last year. Rutgers only won 1 game, and that was the last one. But that's
my biggest concern is because the Sixers did it last season.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know what it is, if it's preparation, if it's just team chemistry. You got to get up once and show me that you can do it on the road. And then the losses to Nebraska and Penn State, both kind of handily to end your season.
Mm-hmm.
And then, sure, they showed some life against Rutgers, but then you fizzle out at the end. I mean, I backed the Gross team earlier today. This team is on a 7-game losing skid.
I can't believe I have an argument for them. I can just see something turning. Just 2 games. I think they can beat Northwestern. And then they beat Northwestern. You never know what happens.
Yeah, it's your tune-up game. Maybe Northwestern's it. So this is a tough one for me when you're long shot, because you can't really count any of the top 5 teams as a long shot because, I mean, not much separates the pack, I can say, for an argument. So some are hotter than others right now, but when I was looking at it, dude, what's up with Michigan State? Everyone had them buried.
Yeah.
Buried. And I know maybe Michigan helped. I don't think Michigan would ever help out Michigan State whatsoever, but get another team in the tourney. Michigan had the one locked up. Give Michigan State the ticket punching win today. Don't think that happened, but Izzo, it's March. It's really hard to count them out because he's only lost to, I mean, they've played 3 games in March where they beat IU, beat Michigan, and lost to Michigan. This team is just, I don't want to say they're getting hot, but Joshua Langford and Aaron Henry, Joey Hauser, those are all 3 guys that can go out with you like Marcus Carr, can win you a game.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to say that they'll beat Michigan again when I'm not even confident they can get past Maryland. They're just a trendy team, so I wouldn't pick them as my long shot. I'm going to go to actually Penn State, who I think could be a long shot because I think they get past Nebraska ball, no problem. They caught whiskey once already this season by 10. They did end up losing the next game by 16. And yes, you do have Jim Ferry, the interim coach there. I mean, this is just where Myron Jones and Hard just have to hope that whiskey goes on one of those 5 to 6 minute runs and they just muck it up and get through it, because Penn State, they're a lot more solid without Chambers than I thought, but they did start 3-6, and then they turned it on as of late, finished 10-13, 7-12 in conference. So that's where them getting past Iowa is where it gets real rough, where I think you need to have 3 games to be a long shot, and that's where in this conference I don't have a confident one because I don't think any team here can win 2 that's a deeper seed, just because I think that top 4 is that strong.
Yeah. No, this is a very hard conference to pick a long shot.
But what's your upset? I think you kind of alluded to it already. Do you think Minnie takes down Ohio State?
I do. I don't know what. I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota loses by 20 to Northwestern. But I just if they get past Northwestern, they finally win a game. They finally break that trend, and I will be looking to back them at least plus with the points against Ohio State. I like in tournament play to back the best guard. There's so much more that comes into basketball than the best guard. But when you're going a single elimination, I want the guy who can get the bucket at the end of the game. I want the closer. And Marcus Carr's splits are so just like Minnesota in general. He's amazing. He's all-American at home, and he's just average on the road. I don't know why I think it's going to change, but I think Minnesota, I mean, they have Marcus Carr. I'm saying his name repeatedly and repeatedly. He dropped 41 points against Nebraska. I believe they even lost that game. But who else besides Garza is dropping 41 points in a game?
No one really.
Yeah, so I'm looking for the takeover player. They're finally going to have some fans. These games could get a little emotional. 8,000 in Lucas Oil Stadium, isn't really that much, but it's still 8,000 people, I believe, they're going to allow at the Big Ten games. So you could get some emotion. You could get a whole stadium behind the underdogs because you go to these games to back the underdogs or you go to back your alumni or family. You don't really go neutral. You go to back the underdogs.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that there's a crowd also. I think that can play into effect.
So I'm staying on that top of the bracket to pick my upset to watch for, and I think Purdue's going to catch Michigan.
Ooh.
That's going to be the one I'm going to get into because that does get into where we're headed to. So I think that's the perfect way to get into. We're going to talk about more games, other ones to get after it, but we want to just break down who we have in our semifinals.
Gotcha.
So that's where I think Michigan will play Purdue in the semis, and I do think Purdue gets past them. We got Chuck back. I'm glad he came in.
Yes.
I don't follow you, but yes, you're the ones who called out VMI. So good for you, Chuck. I'm glad you tuned back in. But yeah, I got Purdue getting over Michigan. They're getting hot at the right time. They rattled off 6 straight, 7 of 8 in the conference. 7 of 8 in the conference. Lost being to Minnesota most recently, which I hate. But since Goose is higher on it, makes me feel a little bit more confident. And dude, I'm loving Big Maple. Edie,
yes.
I figured out that was his nickname last week, and that was one of the happiest moments all season. I found out. 4, yeah, 7'4". He used to play hockey. Imagine him on skates. Imagine this 7'7" dude coming at you on skates.
That is gross.
Yeah, I don't want to see that.
He's getting free education. He's at Purdue balling out.
Yeah, so Travion Williams, I think he's obviously the key because we've seen games where he doesn't get into foul trouble. Offense loves to run around him. Stefanovic, I think, is going to be the name, and he's going to be the guy where you're going to say Marcus Carr. I think Stefanovic and Jaden Ivey for freshman of the year. I mean, Ivey's making a very strong case for it come down this late stretch because he was originally coming off the bench. I think they finally moved him into the starting role, and him getting to the rim is nuts. He reminds me a lot of Maxey from Kentucky last season, who's currently on the Sixers. Those two, I feel like, play the same exact style, can shoot it from deep. Maybe not their specialty, still going to shoot over a 30% clip, but getting to the bucket and just making some nice passes outside of it. I just like the way this team matches up against Michigan. Yes, they did lose by 17 in the first one at home, but Painter, Juwan Howard, let's see if you truly are Coach of the Year. So that's where
he's been there. He's been there. Yeah. He's done that. So I do really like that pick. I was very neutral on Purdue, but you're getting me sold right now because Stefanovic, he is a great shooter. They have the power forward. They have the center. They have the coach. They're really selling me on Purdue right now.
Love to hear that. So in my bottom part of the bracket, I won't say who wins it yet. Goose, I'm sorry, but I got to roll with the Illini up at the top part.
Yeah.
This is where I think Iowa just makes it, but I think Whiskey is going to show some late life. I'm not going to be laying the points with Iowa against Wisconsin, even though I do think Penn State's the live dog against Whiskey. I think Whiskey grinds that one out. And then Whiskey versus Iowa, I mean, I'm going to take the points there, but I'll put Iowa through. I hate having a 1, 2, 3, 4, but I just think that top 4 is that much more explosive.
Yeah.
So I got the Illini versus Purdue for my championship. Goose, what's your final 4? Any thoughts on the ones how your team's going to get there?
Yeah, so I feel square also saying this. I think I got 1, 2, 3. I got Michigan getting to the semis. They're a complete team. I got Illinois and Iowa meeting up because even both those teams have those games where they lose and you're like, they just lost to who? They let this team get so close to them. Like, they don't always feel so locked in, but it's tournament time. And I just think the way Iowa and Illinois are playing in the last 5 games, I need to pick them to make the semis. And, I had 1, 2, 3. I really didn't want to go 4. And, I mean, I'm a joke for saying this, but let's see Minnesota.
Ooh.
You know what it might be? I was a big fan of Rick Pitino at Louisville. So his son coaching, I want to see him succeed. It's a bias thing, I think. And I just think
all right, I love it.
He has it in him to coach just a couple games, and I try not to pick 1, 2, 3, 4, but these top 4 teams, there's levels to it, and these top 4 teams are just better in the Big Ten than the rest of the conference. That's why they're in the top 4. It's the deepest conference in America, and the cream rises to the top or whatever. And I think Minnesota can hit a little run. I think they'll fizzle out to Michigan though, and I got a 1 versus 2. I got Illinois, most complete team out there now, though, with the emergence of, to me, Andre Curbelo took a great step over the last 3 games. It's only a 3-game sample size. He's been good all year. So I'm going to have Michigan versus Illinois.
Goose, I thought you were about to spit some bars after you said there's levels to this shit. I was like, oh, no, he ain't just about to do it. He ain't about to go off. I wasn't ready for that.
I'm tired from that.
I was about to say that would have been some legendary stuff. I would have clipped that in a second. So I got Purdue versus the Illini, and it sounds like we're going to have the same team cutting down the nets in Lucas Oil because Chuck, I mean, if he's coming in and saying the Illini, I already had the Illini circled. He persuaded me the last time with VMI, so I got to go Illini over Purdue. Purdue definitely is going to keep it close once again. Always going to be taking the points in these toss-up games, but I've been high on Illinois the whole season. I picked them to win the Big Ten with Steven in their pre-season preview, so that's where I got to roll with my boys in the orange.
I haven't been high on Illinois till about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. I just thought they were that team, and I guess kind of Iowa's kind of that way too, but I'm coming around on them where the inconsistency on them to think that they can win 3 or 4 games in a row. I wasn't feeling it. I felt like Illinois was playing like they expected to win. And I think they're playing with more urgency now. I've come around a lot on Illinois. I was thinking they were like, it's definitely a Sweet 16, but no further team than that. And I agree with you. I have them winning this Big Ten championship game. I have them as now a 1 seed. And I think they can compete with any team, including Gonzaga and Baylor.
All right. So there's 2 games that I want to hit on really quickly before we start wrapping this up. And we got to go with the 7 versus the 10 and the 8 versus the 9, because those are the most intriguing matchups early, because Mini Northwestern, Nebraska ball, PSU, that's really not going to do much for me. So that's where with Michigan State and Maryland, is this revival real? I mean, they lost to the Maryland and Michigan State met once, and that was when on the 28th, and they ended up losing to Maryland by 18. So that's where maybe tonight's game, you kind of just got to throw it out with Maryland and just hope. But you're taking the team that I think has less talent and the worst coach in basically a toss-up game where it's going to be +3, and I probably think Michigan State at this point of the season is going to be favored.
Yes,
that one is 100% must watch. I have no idea which way I got to dig into it more betting wise. But
that's going to be an 11:30 Thursday start, I believe. 11:30 Eastern on Thursday, I believe. Is
that your first half under angle you're looking for that one?
Especially in the football stadium. Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, that's where this game was when me and Goose were prepping. It switched late where we thought Rutgers was going to be playing Michigan State. We thought IU was going to be playing Maryland. So we had to flip it due to that late game. But for Rutgers, Indiana, I want to hear your confidence level. What do you think? Fandom wise, you can give me that. Real wise, you can give me that. Whatever you want to say about Rutgers, let's hear it.
Well, a lot of people are saying Rutgers is going dancing, and I believe that too. But then you have to beat the state of this Indiana team. I believe Rutgers is 2-0 against Indiana. They take care of business against them. Trace Jackson Davis, great player, but at the end of the day, Miles Johnson is a defensive specialist, and I believe that neutralizes him. Rutgers, even though they are probably in, they need to win this game because you can't they're 2-0 against Indiana. I feel like they have more talent. I feel like they're better coached. They have more momentum. So all the signs point to you need to beat Indiana. And if and when they do, like Ron Harper Jr. tweeted out something last night. I think I retweeted it, but like I tweet so much Rutgers stuff that I feel like I overloaded it online. I think I even deleted it, to be honest. But he basically tweeted that when Rutgers got invited to the Big Ten, so many of the analysts were saying this is a joke, this is a money grab. And I guess you almost really can't fault them. They came so far. Rutgers was always a 14 seed. I remember they were an 11 seed, I want to say 2 years ago. And I'm like, we're an 11 seed in the Big Ten. This is amazing. And I guess you can, like, my expectations, like, being excited about an 11 seed in the Big Ten is so weird. And then last season, they got all the way up to a 9 seed. And now we're in the top half of the bracket. We're 7 seed out of 14 teams. And I just want to say, like, to Coach Peichel, like, what an amazing job he's done. Maybe there's a floor to this team. Maybe his offense is too stagnant. But at the end of the day, he took over for Coach Eddie Jordan. I really don't want to, like Eddie Jordan just wasn't cut out for this, I guess. I think his best year, he won 2 conference games. And Coach Peichel has done it. Rutgers is going dancing. This is amazing. Like, some teams, shout out Steven and his UConn fandom. They won 2 March Madnesses in the last 15 years. Like, that's what you should be striving for. But I don't know how I'm going to – like, I might shed a tear on Selection Sunday just to hear Rutgers. Just to hear them make the tournament. I really might shed a tear. And it's just, like, something I really didn't know if I'd ever see when I enrolled at Rutgers. I really wasn't the biggest Rutgers fan growing up. I always liked their football team. Their basketball team was never a thought. Always loved March Madness. I go there. They're horrible. Mike Rice gets thrown out for calling his teammates fairies and stuff. Eddie Jordan comes in. He's horrible. And now Coach Peichel has done it. They're going dancing. They got to take care of business against Indiana. I don't think they get past Illinois, but that's okay. I mean, Illinois, I think, is the hottest team in the nation. And I'm very excited. I can't wait for Selection Sunday. And I just wanted to thank Coach Peichel.
Goose, that's where you hit it on the head. And I think it's just Peichel he did it what he did it in the area with Stony Brook.
Yes.
So once he saw that he could do it in a smaller American East school in the same area, you're going to be recruiting the same kids. You got to Stony Brook to 20 wins almost in all of his seasons when he was there. Turned around the program there. You're still seeing that team do very well since he's left. And with Rutgers, I mean, he was building. He's building the more conference wins each season. 3 wins in the first 2. Then he got to 7. Then he got to 11. He got to 10 this year, but he definitely would have gotten, I don't know. I mean, they played the same amount of games. They both played 20, so he's building, which is what you love to see there. And with IU, if you go through that schedule that they had, they didn't beat any team with a defense the whole season. They beat Iowa in early February, and they actually swept Iowa, which is very strange. And
did they really?
January, yeah. Indiana did sweep them, but that was right before Iowa kicked in that defensive gear. Other wins than that were Minnesota, Northwestern, Maryland, Nebraska. So they really, and Butler. Like, I know we're getting out of conference there, but they're not beating any teams that has a solid defense. Sure, Rutgers offense does get stagnant sometimes, but you have, I want to say, probably the third best defense in the conference, maybe fourth, because you have Michigan and Illinois up there at number one. Then you're really trying to split hairs if you're saying Purdue, Wisconsin, or Rutgers is next, because they're all kind of just right there playing that pounding style. And that's what you get in the Big Ten. And Indiana is not built for it. Archie Miller hasn't proved that he can win. So I think I might be laying the points with Rutgers in that first one as Archie Miller's last game.
Yeah. I'm sure he'll get another job somewhere else soon. I just don't. Yeah, I guess it's just not working out in Indiana for him. And I think this is his last game. So if you're Rutgers, I hope they wear the black jerseys because
put the nail in the coffin.
Funeral.
Yes, sir. Is there any other game that you want to hit on last? You want to hit on a coach of the conference, player of the conference, or do you feel well and good that Rutgers is going dancing? We both have the Illini cutting down the nets, and we felt like we nailed the Big Ten.
Yeah. So, I guess I kind of touched upon all this. Luka Garza, he's the player of the year. The best player in the conference, though, to me, is Ayo Dosunmu. But Luka Garza is definitely the player of the year. There's a difference to me, best player and player of the year. So I think Dosunmu, I'm not sure exactly what is going on with the injury with his face, how healthy he is, but I don't even think he's the most important player on the team. I keep talking about Andre Cabello. I think he's going to run this team and set up Dosunmu where he can drop 25. Now he can give it to Ayo and let Ayo shoot, let him drive, but the load is going to be taken off of Ayo's shoulders. So I think the emergence of the point guard is just going to make Ayo even better. Coach of the year, you got to give it to Juwan Howard, but Matt Painter makes it's Painter, right? Not Prater.
Yeah, it's Painter.
Painter, you got to give him some love. You got to give him some respect. But Juwan Howard, I was looking earlier today. Sports Illustrated had them pick 7th in the preseason. CBS Sports had Michigan pick 9th. The Big Ten did a first-team preseason all conference. No Michigan player was on it, and here they are as the 1 seed. So Juwan Howard's done a great job. I'm very happy for him. And Michigan is back. That's that Fab Five vibes. So good for them. I hope they make a great run. But Illinois, I believe, will be cutting down the net.
Yeah, so to hit on Chuck's real quick, I do think Sean Miller survives because it seems like Arizona is more built into him. But I definitely think Archie is gone. And, I mean, I want to give it to Ayo, but I think Kofi just takes away the votes or takes away the importance where, I mean, Garza won it last year, National Player of the Year. He set the record. I think Garza just gets it.
Yeah.
And, yes, Juwan Howard does get Coach of the Year, but can they give Phil the assistant coach of the year or whatever? Because I think that was
from the Philly area, right? He's been great.
Phil Martelli. He was the St. Joe's coach for my whole life until 2 seasons ago. And then Juwan Howard brought him in as the assistant, and it's just a guy that knows the ropes, knows how to recruit, has been in many conference tournament games, has made it to March Madness at least 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
So he just surrounded himself with guys who knew the college atmosphere, who knew the game. And that's what has set Juwan Howard up for success. And Michigan just basically said, the keys are yours. And you love when you see – I love when an old player comes back to the alma mater, left the NBA, to come take this coaching job. I hope he's solidified there for a while because I'm a huge Juwan Howard fan. So, yes, he definitely gets it because over-exceeding expectations, and it's definitely by like 10 wins. And so that's just where Michigan, I think he has to get Coach of the Year.
Do you, I guess one question I want to ask, because I see it's about time to wrap up. I want to look beyond the Big Ten tournament for 5 seconds.
Yep.
How many Big Ten teams are going to make the Sweet 16? I just want to hear from you real quick. I know it's all about matchups. Like, this is like the hardest, dumbest question. But I just want to hear what you think of their top depth. Like, what teams are you seeing are in the Sweet 16?
So I think Michigan and Illinois definitely get there for being the 1 seeds. The 1
Yeah.
seeds gets you there. I don't think Iowa gets there. I don't think Ohio State gets there. I don't think Whiskey gets there. So Purdue would be the team I have the third amount of confidence in to make it. So I say minimum 3. And then
Okay.
I do think we get a run from a team that's in the like 8, 9, or like 10 spot, depending on where Rutgers, Maryland, and Michigan State land. Any type of matchups, those are matchup nightmares for teams. I don't think so. That's where I think those, especially if they do get a team that catches the upset too. So they're going to, if they do end up being the higher ranked team in there, I think 4 get there. I'm confident that 3 do.
Nice. Yeah. I wonder if there's going to be like a line like that a book will offer, like over under 3.5 teams make the Sweet 16 out of the Big Ten. And yeah, I think it's just such a deep conference. I do think, I mean, I'm sure you're going to touch upon this in the next day or two with the Big 12. That is just a complete elite conference up top. But the Big Ten has the depth, and I think we could see like 4 teams in the Sweet 16. A quarter of the field could be from the Big Ten. So I just wanted to quickly pick your brain on that.
Chuck thinks 8 gets to the Sweet 16 or 8 get in, because I definitely think 9 teams get in. But I think there's going to be carnage this March Madness. I'm loving for the upsets.
Yeah.
I think the Big Ten might show its fraudulence a little bit. A lot of confidence saying that, but I don't think 8 of the 9 teams make it to the Sweet 16.
Purdue, Wisconsin, and Ohio State are all very similar and all have outstanding coaches. Coaching really takes you. Purdue's playing the best out of those 3. You really got to lean on your guard and your coaches. So I could see like all 3 of those teams making a nice run, but I would back Purdue out of that group. And I mean, they're the 4 seed in the Big Ten conference. So it's obvious why I'll back them, because they've been playing better the whole year.
Yes, sir. So we both think the Illini are going to be cutting down the nets. Goose, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining the SoCon. We got the finals coming up there. I know you're going to be pumped for that, but not nearly amount as pumped for the Big Ten tourney. Let's see Rutgers make a run. Steven just chimed in late and likes our Illini pick as well. So I don't know if this is good where Chuck, Steven, and us 4 are all aligned. So maybe it's your 3-whale ultra lock. Got to tweet it out. Let everyone get there. But
I really have been feeling that a little, like everyone in Illinois, but rightfully so. They're playing the best ball, but can they consistently play that for 4 straight games?
This has probably been one of my favorite ones that we've done, because we went live 15 minutes after the bracket was finalized. Yes. So we did a lot of the gut, a lot of quick thoughts on the bracket. Didn't get time to pin down your matchups, but thank you, everyone. This is the Breakdown Sports. Ha! Wear your Wofford shirt next week. That's a great one.
Bro, I gotta find it. I can't find it, but I was back in Mercer. Oh,
that's a great one. You can follow us on Twitter at BRKDWN_sports. You can follow Goose at Qual's Corner. Check out his website. He's putting up always great content and articles out there when his football season, so definitely check out his picks there. Great Twitter follow as well. And then you can follow me under my head. And until next time, thank you, Goose. Have a good night.
Thank you.